In the history of YouTube, few partnerships have captured the internet's heart like Dan Howell and Phil Lester. Their friendship, creativity, and humor have shaped online culture for more than a decade. And in 2025, after years of speculation, the question that millions of fans had been asking, are Dan and Phil in a relationship, was finally answered. But before that big reveal, their story began long before the internet knew their names. Globe early lives and the beginning of an online friendship. Dan Howell, born in 1991 in Wokingham, England, was a bright, imaginative teenager with a love for video games, music, and comedy. He often felt out of place in the small town where he grew up but found a sense of belonging on the internet. Phil Lester, 4 years older, was already experimenting with online video long before YouTube became mainstream. Born in Manchester in 1987, Phil was known for his calm voice, gentle humor, and creative storytelling. By 2006, he had uploaded his very first YouTube video, a simple yet charming clip that showed his personality and love for making people smile. In 2009, fate stepped in. Dan discovered Phil's channel and became an instant fan. After messaging Phil and striking up conversations, the two quickly became friends. Within months, they met in person and created their first collaborative video. It was the beginning of a creative partnership that would change their lives, and the YouTube landscape, forever. PC The rise of a YouTube duo. Between 2010 and 2014, Dan and Phil became one of YouTube's most recognizable duos. Their videos were funny, unpredictable, and full of chemistry. They played off each other's personalities perfectly. Dan was sarcastic and dramatic, while Phil was optimistic and softly spoken. Together, they launched Dan and Phil Games, a channel dedicated to gaming content. Their natural humor and authentic reactions made even simple games feel like adventures. In every video, fans could see the genuine friendship and trust between them. Outside of gaming, their main channels, Amazing Phil and Dan Is Not on Fire, continued to grow. They shared stories, jokes, and creative skits that made millions laugh. To many, Dan and Phil became symbols of the early YouTube generation, authentic creators who made content because they loved it, not because of algorithms or sponsorships. By 2013, they had millions of subscribers, sold-out events, and a growing fanbase known as the Fandom. House living together and building a shared life. As their friendship deepened, Dan and Phil decided to move in together in London. It was a natural decision. They were creative partners and best friends who thrived on collaboration. Their shared apartment became a familiar backdrop for countless videos, colorful rooms, quirky decorations, and the famous Phil's Corner. Fans noticed their strong bond, and soon, online discussions began. Were Dan and Phil just friends, or was there something more? The internet began to theorize endlessly, with Tumblr blogs and fan communities dissecting every interaction, every glance, every word. But through it all, Dan and Phil kept their boundaries clear. They focused on creating positive content rather than addressing personal rumors. For them, what mattered most was making people smile and feel safe in their community. Their partnership wasn't built on speculation, it was built on trust, respect, and shared creativity. Mike expanding their reach. Books, tours, and radio. By 2015, Dan and Phil had become household names in the digital world. They launched a BBC Radio 1 show where they interviewed artists, played music, and entertained listeners with their signature humor. The chemistry that fans loved on YouTube translated perfectly to live radio. In that same year, they published their first book, The Amazing Book Is Not on Fire. It quickly became a bestseller, mixing autobiography, comedy, and heartfelt moments. The book captured their personalities perfectly, Phil's positivity, Dan's self-awareness, and their shared love for storytelling. Following the success of the book, they embarked on a world tour called The Amazing Tour Is Not on Fire. From the United Kingdom to America and Asia, thousands of fans attended, waving glow sticks and wearing themed shirts. Their live performances were filled with laughter, interactive games, and moments that showed just how strong their bond was. Puzzle piece dealing with fame and speculation. Fame brought excitement but also pressure. As their popularity grew, so did public curiosity about their personal lives. Dan and Phil became one of the most shipped pairs on the internet, meaning fans imagined them as a romantic couple. While many fans celebrated the idea affectionately, others went too far, invading their privacy or demanding confirmation. Yet, through all the noise, Dan and Phil handled the situation with maturity and humor. They avoided gossip, focused on positivity, and encouraged fans to respect boundaries. Phil once said in an interview, "We share a lot online, but not everything has to be public. Some things are just for us." That philosophy defined their approach for years, open about creativity, private about intimacy. Brain 2019. Dan's emotional coming out. In 2019, Dan Howell uploaded one of the most heartfelt videos in YouTube history titled, "Basically I'm Gay." In it, Dan opened up about his experiences with identity, mental health, and growing up feeling different. He shared how the online world had given him hope and community. He also mentioned Phil, calling him a truly amazing person who had supported him for many years. Although Dan didn't label their relationship at that time, his words made it clear that their bond was deep and meaningful. Phil later released a video of his own discussing his experiences as part of the LGBTQ+ community. Both videos were praised for their honesty and vulnerability. They helped countless viewers feel seen and understood. The internet once again began to discuss their possible relationship, but Dan and Phil remained quiet, choosing to live authentically without giving in to public pressure. Rainbow: the power of representation. What made Dan and Phil special wasn't just their humor, it was their empathy. They never used their platform for controversy or drama. Instead, they built a space where people could be themselves. For many LGBTQ+ fans, they represented hope. They showed that two people could care deeply for each other, work together, and still protect their private lives in a respectful way. Their friendship, and eventual confirmation of their relationship, became a positive symbol of love that didn't need labels or validation from others. Even without publicly defining themselves for years, their actions spoke louder than words: kindness, loyalty, and mutual respect.